Another day, another model. This time, it is Opus 5 from Anthropic. Welcome to the channel. And this is AI Report on Opus 5. The claim from Anthropic and the reported benchmarks place Opus 5 at a similar intelligence level to Fable 5, at half the price. Yeah, you heard that right. Fable 5 is no longer the only super geek in town. Opus 5 has arrived, and it has even edged it in terms of task efficiency. And finally, Claude Pro users' prayers have been listened to by the AI god. They no longer have to starve for Fable-level intelligence. So, let's look at some of the reported benchmarks. First up, agentic coding. Opus 5 scores 43.3% for agentic terminal coding on a benchmark called Frontier Bench. That is quite a bit ahead of Fable 5 and ahead of GPT 5.6 Sol. We will look at the accuracy and cost trade-off for this in just a moment. At the same time, on Deep SWE, which is another agentic coding benchmark, GPT 5.6 Sol with 72.7% is still ahead of Opus 5, which scores 68.8, slightly lagging Fable 5. When it comes to knowledge work, Opus 5 is ahead of both Fable 5 and GPT 5.6, Sol scoring an ELO rating of 1861. And in terms of computer use, Opus 5 is ahead again, with a score of 70.6% on the OS World 2.0 benchmark. But there is one benchmark where the performance is not just ahead, it is mega ahead of every other model. And that benchmark is Arc AGI3. Opus 5 scores 30.2%. The next best model, GPT 5.6 Sol, scores 7.8. So, let's first understand what exactly this benchmark is all about. The Arc AGI3 benchmark was released on the 25th of March 2026, and the most important aspect of this benchmark is that it puts an AI agent into an environment without giving it any instructions. No rules, no end goal. It is the agent's own responsibility to figure out the rules, work out the end goal, and complete the task to move forward. And another important thing to note, when Arc AGI3 was released, Frontier AI scored 0.51%. Additionally, the variance of scores across different types of tasks is significantly high. It ranges all the way from 0% to 100%. The complete list of tasks can be viewed on the Arc Prize website. Now, a huge jump in one benchmark, which is itself a relatively new benchmark, combined with scores being drastically different across tasks, may indicate that the patterns related to some of these tasks have crept in some form into the training dataset, more so during the RL fine-tuning stage, rather than indicating that the model has somehow gained the ability to solve completely novel problems. Now, I always want to see AI models helping to improve human health and improving the quality of healthcare. And to that extent, HealthBench is an interesting benchmark to take a look at. And it is pleasing to see Opus 5 increasing the lead there, with a score of 67.1%. That is almost 5 percentage points above Claude Mythos. Moving on from benchmarks, let's now focus on the cost and accuracy trade-off, which seems to be the selling point for these labs going forward. If we consider the Frontier Bench benchmark, then on cost efficiency, Opus 5 does give you higher accuracy for a certain amount of additional dollar spend. But for the large part, GPT 5.6 seems to be the better cost versus accuracy trade-off model. Opus is definitely better than Fable 5 in terms of cost efficiency, as we can see in the graph as well. But more or less, unless the task is too complex, we can still go with GPT 5.6 as the more cost-efficient model. But what if we consider an external examiner? one who grades everyone's paper with the same red pen. That is the AA Coding Agent Index. And there, Opus 5 does not provide any significant advantage in terms of cost or accuracy over GPT 5.6 Sol, though it is definitely much preferable over Fable 5, or, at this point, even the ancient Opus 4.8. Now, the uncomfortable part. The same model that helps you fix a bug can help someone find a vulnerability. So, let's talk cyber and bio. In line with the tone set by Anthropic with Project Glasswing, Mythos, and the Fable 5 release, there is intentional nerfing of Opus 5 in dual-use capability, like offensive cybersecurity and biology research. Even though Opus 5's cybersecurity vulnerability finding capability is near Mythos level, its exploitation capability has been substantially nerfed. Another important point to note in the blog is that the Opus 5 cyber classifier, which is used to block cybersecurity-related prompts to avoid malicious usage of the model, will be substantially less intervening than Fable. By the company's own claim, almost 85% less. In terms of availability, Claude Opus 5 is available across all Claude platforms and subscriptions. And in terms of token pricing, Claude Opus 5 is priced at the same rate as Opus 4.8, which works out to $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens. So, where does all of that leave us? Opus 5 gives you Fable-Level intelligence at half of Fable 5's price. And on Anthropic's own benchmark table, that claim holds up. But on cost versus accuracy, GPT 5.6 Sol still edges it across most of the coding comparisons we have data for. So the smarter model is not automatically the cheaper one to run. If you liked our news report, kindly like, subscribe, and share.